And then they just had that Operation Pegasus thing revealed, where they were like tapping thousands of journalists' phones. That feels like if that was Russia or China or Venezuela or like any of like the big, I don't know, you can call them enemies, like geopolitical rivals, whatever. But like if any of them were doing that, we'd be like, hang on, what the fuck? Like, calm down. Like, we need to do something about this. And this
interference. That's what it
yeah.
would be.
Yeah, exactly. It would be, you'd be having 3 years of investigations that seems to have brought nothing, which is still stunning to me, because I feel like there was probably stuff you could have prosecuted people for. I don't know how egregious it was is up for debate, but I'm still stunned that they didn't get more convictions out of something they seemed so certain about. And yet there seems to be no cries for like international sanctions, or I don't know. I guess it kind of just speaks to the power of the Israeli state that no one's willing to challenge them for whatever reason. I don't know.
Well, at least the American, like, how many times has Israel been caught spying on Americans? How many times have the Americans acted on it? I mean, here in Australia, I'll tell you a story, since I'm from Australia. Well, I live here, originally born in Syria, but the Israelis were discovered stealing Australian passports and using them to go to the United Arab Emirates and assassinate people. So essentially they were putting Australian citizens at risk by doing this. And the Australian intelligence community found out through a Israeli double agent, like an Australian Israeli who told them what was happening. So they asked for them to stop, but they refused to stop. They kept doing it. And eventually the Prime Minister went to the United Nations and made a formal complaint about them. And the fallout of this is the Israeli double agent was thrown into jail and then killed, and by the Israelis. And the Australian Prime Minister, Kevin Rudd, and this is in his book, said that the Zionist, the head of the Zionist lobby here in Australia, threatened him that he was going to be removed and replaced by Julia Gillard, which was exactly what happened. Like a few months later, Julia Gillard did an internal coup and took over the leadership. And he was like one of the most popular prime ministers here. And he wasn't even like against the state of Israel. He was for a Jewish revolution. But Julia Gillard, like one of the first things she did was she visited Israel on a trip. And ever since then, there's been political upheaval in Australia. I don't know if you've noticed that we're always having internal coups and the prime minister is constantly changing. I mean, it was because of that. It was because Kevin Rudd complained that Israel was stealing Australian passports and assassinating people with them. And that's just not allowed, I guess. This is from his own words, by the way.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that was the reason for the constant chopping and changing there for the last few years of prime ministers.
Yeah. I think it set the precedent. But that was the first time that it actually happened.
Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the podcast. Don't forget our sponsor, ExpressVPN, and my book, Brexit, the Establishment Civil War, can both be found in the links in the description below. And also, please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. It's the best way to help us grow. Until next time, thanks for listening. Screw the hedge funds.
You can make as many rules as you want, but if there's no teeth behind them, what's the point?
Well, like Citadel is potentially just gone in a few months. It feels like financial institutions, that they are all laughing at us by buying GME. Screw the hedge funds. Like, I will lose my entire investment if it brings them down.
Why on earth, last May, could you buy the entire company for $200 million?
What's been happening on Reddit and in social media and in the marketplace has never been seen before.
I argue that nothing is off the table. There is nothing off the table when dealing with the volumes of money in something as big as the United States stock market.
The hedge funds have clearly underestimated a group of people raised on Friday night World of Warcraft raids.
Dark pools they're another mechanism to manipulate and cheat. Mainstream journalists don't say these things for a number of reasons. One is their sources are the people that I'm talking about, and so they can't call somebody a crook.
Superstonk and the other communities that have emerged are a hive mind, the likes of which we have never seen before. It's madness and brilliance, insanity and genius all rolled into one. It's very possible that Citadel will be gone in a few months, and not just Citadel, but the entire financial system has the potential to come crashing down. These crooks continue to gamble recklessly with the world economy, and this could be the moment that they finally get their justice.